What's up guys, Manny from Motomillion, your favorite Ducati fanboy, and today's going to be a good one because we're doing a walk around of the Motomillion Panigale V4 SP2. Guys, welcome to Biscayne Bay in beautiful Miami, Florida. It's just, the scenery is amazing. Not just the bike, but just what you see right here in Biscayne Bay in Florida. And we have some treats for you guys in terms of motorcycles. We could just lust after this beautiful background, but right here standing is the Motomillion Ducati Panigale SP2. And from far, I don't know how it's looking on camera, but this bike looks just like an SP2 would, right? It has a high mount exhaust in the back, but as soon as you get closer and as soon as that sun starts shining, the carbon just pops out. I think that's one of the defining pieces of this motorcycle, and that's where our philosophy started from. If you guys want to watch the full story behind the whole idea behind this bike, we have the SP2 story video up. You guys can go and watch that. But let me just walk around and show you guys all the cool touches and the pieces that we've done to this bike. And standing at the back of the bike, the best piece, I think, the defining piece on the Panigale V4 is when we do a special bike, is this rear subframe. This is a complete carbon fiber subframe. There is no metal inside. If you take a look, all the attachment points onwards to the back, this is all carbon fiber. It saves around 8 pounds of weight. And what's special about that 8 pounds is that 8 pounds is up high over here. So it's at a very, very extreme point of a motorcycle. It makes total difference on the feel of the bike. Even when you're pushing this bike around, this subframe makes a big difference. And if you take a closer look, we have our SP2 livery on it. This wasn't painted on, but this was actually wrapped on the bike just because we wanted to see how it looks. And Nicholas from Auto Laboratory nailed it as well with this beautiful wrap job that he did for us. And right here we have our wheelbarrow exhaust. It's called wheelbarrow because you could hold it like this. And right behind it we have our NRC tail tidy kit. We're very adamant about what kind of tail tidies we use. This is probably the safest and the sleekest one. They both go hand in hand together. They're super bright, especially on a sunny day like this. Everyone can see during the day that you're signaling. They're bright, they're directional. You could tell if it's signaling left and right. And that license plate's in a beautiful tuck position as well. Our wheels are standard from Ducati. These are actually BSD wheels that are made for Ducati special projects. That's the SP2 and the Superleggera. They're carbon fiber wheels. If you want something similar, and if you don't want to pay the $9,000 price tag from the dealership, they're the BSD Rapid-Tex. They look almost exactly alike, except one spoke is a little bit different. And right down here, we did dress it up a little bit with our red safety clip and our TWM rear wheel nut. And right down here, if you take a look, we went with Brembo black and red calipers. We actually changed our front calipers too, guys. We did a whole build on this bike where we went piece by piece and showed you guys what we're doing. So if you guys want to check those videos out, go ahead too. But you'll see right up in the front end, we did change our calipers to the Stylema calipers. We did away with the Stylema Rs. The only difference was the pistons that had drilled pistons, and it's not a big difference, guys, for 99% of the riders, be it on the street or the track. And right here we have a beautiful Fullsix brake cooling ducts. These are such cool integrated pieces. It replaces your caliper spacers right here. We dress things up with a little bit of Pro-Tie bolts. You'll see all in the front end. Our T-drive rotors are also mounted but with the Pro-Tie bolts as well. And right here, this piece is brand new from TWM. It's our front axle slider. I love it because it plays really well with this black and red theme of the bike. Also, we played with that theme along with our Stahlbus bleeder valves right over here. And one thing that we did to kind of give the bike more black is this piece right here is our DHE83 radiator and oil cooler guards. From the front of the bike, this thing looks just amazing, right? Because I love how these Panigale V4s look. I think arguably they're one of the best, if not the best, looking super bike out there. We kept our SV2 livery again in the front as well. All the carbon fiber that we use, this is all Fullsix carbon that we have, and we went with satin finish on certain parts. But if you take a look, like parts like here, which is our front subframe, it's all gloss carbon, so everything that's inside ended up being gloss carbon fiber in the cockpit area, and everything that's the body wise is all satin carbon fiber. I think it played really well. Also, our cooling ducts, if you did not notice, they're gloss carbon fiber. So this goes to show you, I think you could play with gloss satin matte if you want to do it. It just goes really well if you just follow a theme, and as long as you like it, right? Because if it's your bike, you should do it. Even our Fullsix brake lever guard right here is in gloss. And since we're talking about our brake lever guard, let's look at our handlebar setup. This handlebar setup is just amazing. So our bike is number 306. We wish it was number 305 because that's the area code of Miami. We changed everything you see over here, except upper triple has our serial number on it for this bike, the build number, and everything else in your view here is just incredible. And I love doing this kind of mod because when you're riding the bike, this is your view when you see. So I already know that this bike's very special, it's an SP2, but this just adds that little icing over the cake. And we see our beautiful carbon fiber monocoque subframe. All our touches and pieces here, the trim pieces, everything is carbon fiber. And we're running our beloved Rizoma stealth mirrors. I know a lot of people say, how do they make sense? But listen guys, I read all your comments. If you ride one of these things and if it fits your body style, it's going to be better than the mirrors on this bike. The mirrors are horrible for someone like me who's about 6 foot tall and I got broad shoulders. I can't move my shoulders away to look in the traffic. But with this, all you do is when you're riding, all I do is lift my elbow momentarily, look behind me, and I'm all set. And we went with the RCS Corsa Corta brake and clutch master cylinders. We used our Rizoma reservoirs right here and we did symmetrical. So if you take a look, both of them are small. Don't worry about it. It's not a safety hazard. We talked about it on our build video. You could go check it out. And right down here, our IMA triples, it really matches that silver theme of this motorcycle. And one piece that we use that we hadn't used before is this trim piece that's from Motocorsa that really finishes the top of the head stem of this motorcycle's frame, because it's not the nicest piece to look at, but now it's beautiful, it's finished off, and it's a CNC machine piece. And one of the last things that we did was this Olin steering damper that we use. We put a manual steering damper on this bike because it gives us more adjustability, more feel, and it just, like I said, that black carbon, satin, and gloss of this motorcycle just plays off really well. One thing that we did that we can't show you is our Stage 2 brand tuning. This bike, I believe, if I remember right, the 212 horsepower at the rear wheel. That's amazing. It's in parts fault because of the filter that we use, which is the Sprint Filter P08 F185 filter, this race exhaust system, and also our brand tuning flash. They all had something to do with it because that's all of our power mods for this motorcycle. Underneath here we have our lithium battery from Ducati, but you could also run the anti-gravity batteries as well. And again, it's got all the carbon that you could put on the bike without changing the fuel tank. We didn't want to change this tank because it's such a signature piece of the SP2 and also the V4R. But what we used was our TWM fuel cap. We love this thing. Quarter turn, you fill it up, you put your cap back on, and you're good to go, guys. And looking down over here, we did a little more cleanup work. We didn't want to run a scoop on this bike. I know it really helps with the lifespan of our dry clutch that we have, but I think this look was just so perfect. Sometimes we gotta balance looks with performance, and we just decided to keep our stock clutch cover from Ducati Performance on here. But right here, we have our beautiful Motocorsa engine mount. We have our Motocorsa rear integrated billet rear reservoir for the bike. And one thing that we did was this piece over here, because your reservoir is usually mounted right here. We had this Fullsix piece that we trimmed a little bit and we put it on here to cover all the cables to make it look nice. And we have our TWM oil filler cap as well. I think some of you guys are looking, you guys see an absence of a part. We removed our heat shielding that would be right over here with that covers the engine. It does help with the heat, but again, we never ride with shorts, and if you do, I suggest not removing them because you'll burn your knees or legs. But this looks so much better, I think. In terms of looks, it just looks amazing. If you wear jeans or your Kevlar jeans when you're riding, it's not going to be a problem. And we kept our Rizoma rear sets again because I think it's a defining piece of the SP2. These things come with the SP2. We have our Motocorsa billet rear set mounts, which again, it just continues on with that black and silver theme of this motorcycle. I think it just suits it perfectly. And this piece right here, this is the full belly pan by Fullsix. And happy to report, guys, the 2022 upgrades for the bodywork, Fullsix has them now all available. And if you guys want to just put piece by piece or just do a full conversion like this, they're all available. Other things that we did to this bike to make sure that we put the most power to the rear wheel. Some of you guys might not think this through, but it's our 520 conversion kit that we have on this motorcycle. The bike did come with a 520 chain on it, but we actually ran the DID ERV7 chain, and that chain is a lighter chain, so it means that it has less rotating mass to rotate this wheel. Don't forget, you're losing power from the crank when this engine is making its power all the way to the rear wheel. Everything counts. Yes, it might not be 5-10 horsepower, but it could be half horsepower, 1 horsepower. Everything counts at the end of the day, and it starts all adding up. This rear chain guard is a part of your exhaust system, of the high mount race exhaust system. We did go with our 520 rear sprocket, and we're running our Evotech rear sprocket carrier, which I believe is the lightest carrier that you can get. and we dressed it up with some red Ducati nuts and also a black TWM sprocket carrier nut right over here, and with our safety clasp as well. Right down here we also have our billet kickstand by Motocorsa. This is really cool because it adds an extra wing to the bike. I know some of you guys don't like wings, but this is the third wing that we added other than the 2 mirrors that we added, but it makes it super easy to get that kickstand down. If you guys ever ride a Panigale V4, you know how hard it is to find that kickstand. This makes it much easier, and this piece, it just looks like a sculpture piece. And right behind it over here, we have our Ducati timing inspection cover. It's black, silver, and carbon. Again, it just goes perfectly with the theme of this motorcycle. We have our Motocorsa front sprocket cover, and we have our rear set mounts right here by Motocorsa. This is actually a bigger piece. It's so beautiful, but it's a shame that this thing covers it, mostly the belly pan, but if you peek through it from right here, it just looks stunning. And finally, right up here, we did keep our Pro Grip 717s that are coming now on certain Panigale V4s. Again, it plays with that theme, and the SP2's theme is the winter testing livery, and it's so timely for us to make this video because the Spanish Grand Prix ended and the MotoGP season's over, and Ducati had their bikes out. They did go with a very similar theme this year as well for MotoGP, except unlike previous years, the bike was fully decaled out with their sponsor decals, but previously they usually used to go out with a black and red bike just like this, and this is where it comes from. And speaking of MotoGP, I think the last thing that I want to mention are these beautiful MotoGP inspired buttons that we have. On the left side we have our no slop throttle, which is a whole unit which has your start stop buttons and your Ducati Performance launch, and on this side, this piece here has all your functions. We actually have a video of this working on the Street Fighter V4, the Motomillion Street Fighter V4, where we show you all the functions. But stuff like this I think makes it special, especially since this is a race inspired bike, be it the World Superbike or the MotoGP bikes, that the livery kind of matches some of the previous year's test bikes. I think this thing is just stunning. Overall, this is the Motomillion Panigale V4 SP2. I don't know, guys, I think it's one of my favorite builds, and I'm usually not a fan of leaving things just carbon, but it did make sense on this bike because it was a black bike and we didn't want to paint it because it would kind of take away from that SP2-ness of this bike. But this is it. I don't know what you guys think. If you guys like it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions or comments about this motorcycle, please leave it down below. And if you guys want to check out every single process of this build, we have a series. Go check out our playlist on our channel. But till then, have a great one, guys. I didn't forget to start it. Let's hear this beast.